There's something to be said about reading a physical book, whether it's the feel, the smell, or just seeing how much you've read. But there's also something to be said about using an e-reader. Personally, I love e-readers. I made the switch years ago and I'm not looking back. I love the fact that I can store hundreds of books on a small device and they don't take up a lot of space in my house. I also love the fact that you can travel with an e-reader and it doesn't weigh down your carry-on luggage. Now, for the most part, e-readers have been fairly small in size, but Kobo wants to shake things up in a big way. And I mean big. At 10.3 inches, this is the largest Kobo e-reader to date. It's essentially the size of a large tablet, yet it's surprisingly thin and light, weighing just 383 grams. I thought the size would make casual reading on it difficult, especially while laying down, putting stress on your wrists, but that's not the case. It's so light, you forget just how big it is. The screen may be larger, but it still looks similar to previous Kobo models. If you've never used an e-reader before, e-ink is extremely easy on the eyes, as it looks just like a printed page. Even outdoors, there's no glare or reflection that you would find on a tablet. The touch-sensitive screen can also be viewed in landscape or portrait mode. There are no physical buttons that can be used to turn pages on this model, which I typically use, but I'm okay with that. The screen on the Elipsa isn't quite as smooth as other Kobo e-readers. It has a very slight texture to it. That's because this is the first Kobo e-reader that supports a stylus. You can draw, doodle, and take notes on it. The stylus has a pressure-sensitive tip. The harder you press, the thicker the lines. It by no means has the accuracy of, let's say, an Apple Pencil, but it's pretty good. There are two buttons. One lets you write, and the other is for erasing. Ebooks can be marked up by highlighting passages, circling words, or making short notes, but it doesn't end there. You can open up a notebook and create your own documents. Here you can choose your pen style, ballpoint, fountain, calligraphy, or brush, the line thickness, and shade. You can also import your own PDF files into the Kobo to edit. When you're done, you can either upload your documents to Dropbox or connect the Elipsa up to your computer. A few things you need to know about marking up books, because right now this feature is extremely limited. You can mark up books that you own that are DRM-free, such as books from the Kobo eStore. But if you import a book from another source, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to make notes on it. Your Kobo is going to bring up an error saying that the feature is not enabled. If you make notes on a book that you own and you delete the book, those notes will also disappear. Now, Kobo says it's going to fix this with a software update once the Kobo Elipsa actually hits stores, but unfortunately, I was not able to try it out. The same cannot be said for books that you borrow from your local library. If you use an app like Overdrive and borrow a book and take notes, once you return the book, those notes will disappear forever. Some other things to consider. If you like to rest your hand on the screen while writing, you may run into issues where the pages may accidentally turn or a menu may pop up. Now, fortunately, you can change the touch-sensitive area on the screen, but it's kind of buried in the settings, so watch out for that. The stylus is battery operated, and it takes a quadruple A battery, which is not as common as, let's say, a triple A. And over time, I began to notice the stylus did leave small, subtle scratches on the screen. But literally the biggest issue is the case. The sleep cover adds a lot of extra bulk to the Elipsa and makes it quite heavy. It's great that it protects the screen while not in use and has a spot to store the stylus, but it feels like an entirely different device when it's on. And not in a good way, more like a hefty tablet. And sadly, you can't just buy the Elipsa on its own. At launch, it'll only be available as a bundle with the sleep cover and stylus, which makes it quite expensive. I really enjoyed the Kobo Elipsa. I loved reading on the big screen. But for me, the stylus, it's not something that I need. I don't highlight passages. I don't take notes on the books I read. I know some of you out there do, and for you, this I think is the perfect e-reader. Even if you're studying literature in school and you have to take notes, this I think is something to look into. But for the average reader, I think the Kobo Elipsa might be a bit of an overkill. That being said, if I could buy the Kobo Elipsa on its own without the sleep cover and without the stylus, I would in a heartbeat. Here's the breakdown.